Welcome to Sage-Adek, the place where stories come alive. Whether you're here to escape, to be inspired, or to simply enjoy a great tale, you're in for something special. Each story is crafted to entertain, intrigue, and leave you wanting more. So sit back, relax, and let the journey begin. A long time ago, in a small, quiet village, there lived a young girl named Camisola. Camisola was known all around for her kindness and beauty. She was loved by everyone who knew her. People would often see her helping her parents at home, greeting everyone with a bright smile as she walked through the village paths. Camisola's family wasn't rich, but they were happy and healthy, and that was enough for them. The village was filled with simple people who worked hard each day. The villagers grew their own food, cared for animals, and treated each other like family. They followed old traditions that had been passed down for many generations. One of these traditions was a yearly festival held to honor the spirits of the land. Everyone looked forward to the festival because it was filled with music, dancing, and food. Camisola's warm personality and gentle heart made her special. She had a way of making people feel comfortable, and many of the village children looked up to her. The elders often praised her for being so well-behaved and respectful. But while most people admired her, not everyone was happy for her. There were 3 girls in the village who were envious of Camisola. Their names were Ife, Jessica, and Hope. These girls were often seen together, whispering and laughing among themselves. They envied Camisola's popularity and the attention she received from others. In their hearts, they felt a quiet jealousy that only grew over time. While Camisola was friendly and always tried to include them, they pretended to be her friends. But deep down, they disliked her. These feelings of envy made them determined to do something about it. They began to plan a way to get rid of Camisola for good, taking away her place in the village. To others, they looked like kind friends, but they had a dark secret in their hearts. Camisola had no idea about the danger that awaited her. As the days went by, the 3 girls, Hope, Ife, and Jessica, worked on their plan to harm Camisola. They knew Camisola's kindness was her weakness, and they would use it to make her trust them even more. One bright afternoon, the girls approached Camisola while she was gathering firewood near her home. They greeted her with big smiles, acting as if they were her best friends. "Camisola," Jessica said with excitement, "have you heard about the big festival coming up?" Camisola smiled back, nodding. "Yes, I love the festival, but my parents think it's best for me to stay home this year." "Oh, that's so sad," Ife said, pouting. "We were really hoping you would come with us." Hope, nodding in agreement, added, "It won't be the same without you. You should come. We'll all be together. It will be so much fun." Camisola hesitated, looking down at the bundle of firewood in her arms. She had always wanted to go to the festival with friends, but she didn't want to disobey her parents. A few days before the big festival, Camisola's parents were preparing to travel to visit a relative in a neighboring village. As they packed their things, Camisola's mother noticed that her daughter had been spending more time with Jessica, Hope, and Ife, the 3 girls in the village who had only recently begun acting friendly toward her.
Camisola's mother felt something odd about their sudden interest in her daughter. She had often seen the 3 whispering and casting looks at Camisola from afar. Before leaving, her mother took her aside and said gently, "Camisola, my dear, I want you to be careful. Not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. I know these girls have been spending more time with you, but something feels strange about it." Camisola smiled, brushing off her mother's concerns. "Mama, they're just being kind. They mean no harm. Besides, everyone in the village is like family, right?" Her mother sighed. "You always see the best in people, my child. But remember to stay careful and please don't go to the festival. It's being held in the next village, and it isn't safe to travel alone." Camisola's father nodded in agreement. "Listen to your mother, Camisola. We're giving you some chores to keep you busy while we're away. This way, you'll have something to do, and you won't be tempted to wander off." Camisola promised she would stay home. Her parents hugged her tightly before setting off, leaving her alone with her list of chores and a warning in her heart. She planned to follow their wishes and keep busy, even if part of her longed to see the excitement of the festival. But the very next morning, As Kemisola was sweeping the front yard, Jessica, Hope, and Ife appeared. They walked up to her with big smiles on their faces. Kemisola, we've come to take you to the festival, Jessica announced. Kemisola shook her head. I can't go. My parents asked me to stay home, and they gave me chores to do. Oh, don't worry about that, Hope replied, waving her hand. We'll help you with the chores. That way, you'll be done quickly, and your parents will never know. Kemisola hesitated, looking down at her broom. I don't know. They told me it wasn't safe. Ife stepped forward, giving her a warm smile. We'll be with you the whole time, Kemisola. It's in the neighboring village, but we'll stay together, and nothing bad will happen. Trust us. Their words made Kemisola feel a bit more confident. She had always wanted to go to the festival with friends, and her heart was touched by their kindness. The thought of spending a day at the festival, filled with music, dancing, and laughter, was hard to resist. She smiled, thinking about how exciting it would be to have friends by her side. All right, Kemisola said at last. I'll come with you, but we must finish all my chores first. The girls eagerly agreed, and together they worked through Kemisola's list of chores. Bearing their hidden envy in their hearts, they laughed and chattered as they helped her, making it seem like they truly wanted her company. By the time the chores were done, Kemisola felt a warm sense of friendship, believing that these girls genuinely wanted to spend time with her. As they set off toward the neighboring village, Kemisola thought about her parents' warning but quickly pushed it aside. Her friends were with her, after all, and they had been so kind in helping her with the chores. She convinced herself that there was nothing to worry about. Kemisola and the three girls set off toward the festival in the neighboring village, excitement filling the air as they laughed and chattered along the path. For Kemisola, this was a whole new experience. She had never left her own village, as her parents had always kept her close to home. But now, with her friends beside her, she felt brave and free. The sun shone brightly as they walked through open fields, past trees, and along winding paths. Kemisola's heartbeat quickened with every step, thrilled at the thought of seeing a new place and meeting new people. Ife, Hope, and Jessica walked ahead, glancing back every now and then, smiling warmly as if they were leading Kemisola on a grand adventure. After a while, they reached a large, dark river that cut across the path. The water was deep and calm, almost unnaturally still, with a mysterious feeling hanging in the air. Kemisola looked at it curiously, wondering why the place seemed so silent. Jessica, Ife, and Hope moved forward without hesitation, carefully stepping onto the rocks that led across the river. They did not say anything to Kemisola about the river's strange rule, as they had no intention of keeping her safe on their way back. Kemisola, having never been here before, had no idea that crossing this river came with a hidden danger. In truth, there was a rule that anyone who crossed the river had to follow. It was said that the river was guarded by a mermaid who demanded an offering from each traveler when they returned. This offering was a token of respect to ensure a safe passage back. Those who didn't bring an offering of food would be pulled into the river by the mermaid, never to be seen again. The three girls knew this rule well, as they had crossed the river many times before, but they kept silent, planning to use this knowledge against her. Kemisola followed the girls across the rocks, carefully balancing as she stepped. She looked around, fascinated by the strange beauty of the river and the peaceful silence that surrounded it. When they reached the other side, she breathed a sigh of relief, excited to be closer to the festival. Once they arrived at the neighboring village, Kemisola's eyes widened with wonder. The festival was more lively and colorful than anything she had seen before.
With happiness as she
Stalls
looked around.
lined the paths,
She was
filled
grateful
with
to
all
her
kinds
friends
of
for
food,
bringing her here,
treats,
and her
and
eyes
handmade
sparkled
crafts.
as she took in the sights.
Musicians played cheerful
She had never
tunes,
felt so free.
and people danced
As
in
the
open
four girls
spaces,
wandered through the
their
festival,
laughter filling
something
the air.
began to happen
The
that
scent of
Jessica,
roasted food
Hope,
and sweet
and
fruits
Ife had
drifted
not
all
expected.
around them.
Many of the young men in the neighboring village couldn't take their eyes off Kemisola. Her beauty, combined with her gentle smile and humble nature, captivated everyone around her. They admired her simplicity and charm, and some of them even tried to get her attention. Among these young men was a particularly handsome boy named Amos. He approached Kemisola with a friendly smile, his eyes warm and inviting. "Hello. My name is Amos," he said, extending his hand. "I haven't seen you around here before. Are you new to the festival?" Camisola shook his hand shyly, her cheeks turning a soft shade of pink. "Yes, I am. My friends brought me here for the first time today." Amos' smile widened. "Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Would you like to walk around with me? I can show you the best parts of the festival." Camisola looked over at her friends, who were watching her with tense smiles, and then back at Amos. She nodded, feeling a bit nervous but excited at the same time. "That would be nice, thank you." The two of them wandered through the festival together, talking and laughing as they explored the different stalls and attractions. Amos was kind and funny, and Camisola found herself feeling comfortable with him. They shared stories and laughed, and by the end of the evening, Camisola felt as if she had made a true friend. But as more people noticed Camisola, her friends grew bitter. They had expected Camisola to be grateful to them for bringing her along, but instead, she was the one stealing all the attention. The young men who would normally notice them were now completely charmed by Camisola. Hope's face grew tense, Ife's eyes narrowed, and Jessica clenched her fists, each one of them feeling a mix of anger and jealousy. The three girls huddled together, their eyes never leaving Camisola as she laughed and talked with Amos and the other villagers. "Look at her," Ife whispered, her voice filled with resentment. "She acts like she's better than us." "Yes," Hope muttered, crossing her arms. "Everyone loves her as if we don't even exist." Ife glared at Camisola from a distance. "Maybe it's time we remind her that she's not so special after all." The three of them exchanged dark looks, their jealousy burning even brighter. They knew that Camisola wasn't aware of the mermaid's rule about offering food on the way back, and they planned to keep it that way. In their minds, this was the perfect chance to finally get rid of her. Meanwhile, Camisola was oblivious to the bitterness growing in the hearts of her friends. She laughed, danced, and celebrated with Amos and the other villagers, feeling happier than she had ever felt before. She believed that she was surrounded by friends who truly cared for her, never imagining that they were plotting against her. As the day wore on, Jessica, Ife, and Hope prepared themselves for what they intended to do next. While Camisola's heart was full of joy and trust, danger lay just ahead. Camisola was still caught up in the joy of the festival, her eyes bright with excitement as she moved from stall to stall. She couldn't stop smiling, surrounded by laughter, music, and colorful decorations. For a brief moment, she forgot about her parents' warning. This was a day of freedom and happiness, something she had never experienced before. But suddenly, as she turned to look at some dancers, she froze. Standing at the edge of the crowd were her parents, their faces stern and angry. Camisola's heart dropped. She knew she was in trouble. Before she could slip away, her parents spotted her, and her father strode toward her with a serious look in his eyes. "Camisola," her mother's voice cut through the noise of the festival. "What are you doing here?" Camisola lowered her head, feeling ashamed. "Mama, Papa, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disobey you." Her mother pulled her aside, away from the curious eyes of the villagers. "We trusted you to stay at home. We told you not to come here, but here you are, ignoring our warnings," her father added. "Do you understand how dangerous this journey is? You should have listened to us and stayed at home. Now you need to go back immediately. This is no place for you, Camisola." She nodded, her eyes downcast. She felt a pang of guilt in her heart. She hadn't meant to disappoint her parents, but the excitement of the festival and the kindness of her friends had made her feel safe. Just then, Jessica, Hope, and Ife appeared, pretending to look concerned. "Oh, Camisola, is everything all right?" Jessica asked, giving her a false look of sympathy. "Yes. Her parents are here," Ife whispered, smirking. Camisola's parents barely acknowledged the three girls, too focused on their daughter. "Go home now, Camisola, and don't take any more detours," her father warned. "Yes, Papa," Camisola replied, her voice soft and sad. Her parents watched her walk off with the girls before turning back toward their relative's house, still upset but hoping she would learn from this. The three girls, however, exchanged quick, satisfied glances. They were fully aware of the river's rule, and with Kemisola now frightened and eager to get home, they had the perfect chance to put their plan into action. Quietly, they each packed a small portion of food for themselves, making sure they had something to offer the mermaid on their way back. They didn't say a word to Kemisola about it, acting as though there was nothing to worry about. Kemisola kept glancing back, her heart heavy with guilt. She felt foolish for disobeying her parents, and she wanted nothing more than to reach home and make things right. The other girls walked ahead, whispering and exchanging smirks, pleased that everything was going according to their plan. Finally, they reached the river, and the strange, quiet atmosphere settled around them once more. Kemisola felt an odd chill in the air but hurried forward, not wanting to linger. The girls, meanwhile, paused at the riverbank, each of them taking out the food they had packed as an offering. They looked at each other, grinning, knowing that this was their moment. As they prepared to cross, Kemisola noticed the girls holding out their food. Her heart skipped a beat as she realized that something was wrong. She had no food with her, no offering to give. She looked at her friends, panic growing in her eyes. "My friends, please, can I have some of your food?" Kemisola asked, her voice shaking. "I didn't know we needed to bring an offering." The girls exchanged a quick, wicked glance and laughed. Jessica smirked, pulling her food closer to herself. "Oh, Kemisola, I'm sorry, but we only have enough for ourselves." "Yes," Hope added with a sneer. "We're not responsible for your mistakes." Kemisola felt her heart pound in her chest, her fear growing as she realized that her friends were not going to help her. She reached out desperately. "Please, just a little bit. I didn't know. I just need a small piece." Jessica stepped back, crossing her arms with a cold smile. "You should have thought about that before. We're not going to risk ourselves for you, Kemisola." The three girls turned their backs on her, each of them placing their food offerings by the riverbank. They crossed the river quickly, leaving Kemisola standing alone on the other side, helpless and terrified. Suddenly, the water began to ripple, and Kemisola felt a cold chill run down her spine. She looked at the river in horror as the calm surface shifted, revealing the outline of the mermaid rising from the depths. Her eyes glowed with anger as she looked at Kemisola, her expression fierce and unforgiving. "You dare to cross my waters without an offering," the mermaid hissed, her voice echoing across the river. Kemisola tried to step back, but her feet felt rooted to the ground. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. All she could do was stare at the mermaid, her heart racing with fear. The mermaid's eyes narrowed. Those who do not respect the rule must face the punishment. Before Kemisola could react, the mermaid's hand shot out, cold and powerful, gripping her wrist tightly. Kemisola gasped, trying to pull away, but the mermaid's hold was strong. The icy water began to swirl around her, pulling her down toward the depths. "No, please," Kemisola cried, struggling to free herself. "I didn't know. I'm sorry. Please." But the mermaid's face remained cold and unfeeling. With one swift motion, she dragged Kemisola into the water. The last thing Kemisola saw was the dark, endless river closing over her as she was pulled under, her voice lost in the swirling depths. On the opposite riverbank, Jessica, Hope, and Ife watched with satisfaction as Kemisola disappeared into the water. They felt a sense of twisted triumph, their jealousy finally satisfied. Without a second thought, they turned and hurried back to their village, eager to enjoy their victory. Little did they know that this betrayal would not go unnoticed. Ife, Jessica, and Hope returned to their village with smug smiles on their faces. With Kemisola gone, they felt certain that they would finally gain the attention and admiration they had always wanted. They imagined that, without Kemisola around, they would become the center of attention among the young men in the village. They walked confidently, exchanging satisfied glances, pleased with the success of their plan. The very next morning, however, they heard troubling news. Kemisola's parents had returned home and were anxiously searching for her. Kemisola's mother, looking worried and pale, went from house to house asking if anyone had seen her daughter. No one had seen Kemisola since the day of the festival, and as word of her disappearance spread, the villagers gathered, their faces painted with worry and confusion. Eventually, Kemisola's mother came upon Jessica, Hope, and Ife, who were chatting quietly by the village square. "Girls," Kemisola's mother called out, her voice filled with desperation, "you were with Kemisola at the festival, weren't you? Where is she? Why hasn't she come home?" You have to stay tuned to know what happened next. This story is to be continued. Thank you for joining me on this storytelling adventure. If you find my stories valuable, don't forget to let me know by liking the video and leaving a comment. Your thoughts mean the world to me. And here's a tip. You might not find me again in the vast sea of YouTube, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let us reach 1,000 subscribers together, that way I would be able to continue dropping mind-blowing stories. And you will also be part of my growth. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep imagining, and stay curious. Thank you.